Unaware his pregnant wife secretly inherited 500 million and owned the bank, husband canceled her cards and starved her and their kids to buy a luxurious car for his mistress. The next morning, the bank revelation destroyed him. Marcus Collins walked into Sterling Trust Bank that Tuesday morning, expecting a $250,000 loan approval. Unaware his pregnant wife Anna secretly inherited $500 million and owned the very bank where he worked. 4 days earlier, he'd canceled every one of her cards while she stood in the grocery store, 5 months pregnant, watching their 7-year-old daughter Emma try not to cry as the cashier said declined 3 times. 4-year-old Jake had whispered, "Mommy, is there going to be food today?" And Anna's hands shook so badly she couldn't answer him. She left the cart full of bread and milk and peanut butter, the basics, just the basics to keep her babies alive, and walked out into the parking lot where she finally broke, her children's arms wrapped around her waist as strangers looked away. Because Marcus had taken every dollar, every card, every way she had to feed their children, for a luxurious car, a $185,000 Maserati for his mistress Vanessa, a woman who didn't even know Emma and Jake existed. That night, Anna had called her lawyer while her daughter slept clutching a stuffed bear and an empty stomach, while her son cried himself to sleep asking when Daddy would let them eat again. But Marcus didn't know that the wife he'd been starving, the woman who'd skipped meals for 3 days to give her children her portions, whose baby was at risk because she was so malnourished, owned the bank. Anna Sterling, the daughter of banking mogul Richard Sterling, the CEO who'd been watching every transaction Marcus made for 6 months. Every dollar he stole from their children's mouths to buy champagne and oysters and Italian leather. The next morning's bank revelation would destroy him. But the real devastation, it was already done. To Emma, who'd started hoarding crackers in her room because she didn't trust food would come. To Jake, who'd stopped asking for seconds because he'd learned that wanting was dangerous. To Anna, who'd loved a man who became a monster so slowly she hadn't seen it until he was starving their babies. The fluorescent lights in Whole Foods hummed like angry bees. Anna stood at checkout lane 7, her belly pressing against the cart, her vision swimming because she hadn't eaten a real meal in 72 hours. Emma gripped the cart side with white knuckles. Her daughter's face had that tight, careful expression, the look children wear when they're trying to protect their parents from their own fear. Jake sat in the cart's child seat, his legs dangling, his stomach making sounds that other people in line could hear. Anna placed the items on the conveyor belt with trembling hands. A small carton of milk, a loaf of whole wheat bread, natural peanut butter. 6 apples. She'd done the math 3 times in her head. $47.83. She had $43 in cash. She'd have to put something back, maybe the apples. The kids needed protein more than fruit. The cashier, a young woman with kind eyes and a name tag that said Jessica, started scanning. Anna pulled out the first card, the one Marcus had said would work, the one he'd promised was just temporarily locked for fraud protection. She swiped it. The machine beeped. Red letters appeared on the screen. Declined. Anna's throat tightened. She tried the second card. Declined. Behind her, the line was growing. A woman in expensive yoga pants checked her phone with an annoyed sigh. A man in a business suit shifted his weight impatiently. Anna fumbled for the third card, her hands shaking so badly she almost dropped it. "It's okay, Mommy," Emma whispered, but her voice was small and scared. Anna swiped the third card. Declined. The word felt like a slap. Jessica's kind eyes filled with concern. "Ma'am, do you have another form of payment?" Anna opened her wallet. $43 in crumpled bills. Not enough. She'd miscalculated. Her pregnant brain was foggy from hunger. She couldn't think straight anymore. "I need to—" Her voice cracked. "I need to put some things back." "Jesus Christ," the man behind her muttered loud enough for everyone to hear. "Some people shouldn't have kids if they can't afford to feed them." Emma's face crumpled. Jake's eyes went wide with confusion, and that's when Anna saw them. 3 women from her old book club, women she'd once had coffee with, laughed with, shared parenting stories with. They stood 2 lanes over, frozen, watching her humiliation unfold like a car accident they couldn't look away from. Their faces showed pity mixed with something worse. Relief. Relief that it wasn't them standing there with declined cards and hungry children and a belly full of a baby she couldn't properly nourish. "Mommy," Jake said, his voice piercing through the store's ambient noise, through the beeping scanners and muzak and shuffling feet. "Why can't we eat? Why doesn't Daddy let us eat anymore?" The store went quiet. Everyone heard. The man behind her stopped sighing. The yoga pants woman looked up from her phone. Jessica, the cashier's expression changed completely. Her eyes went to Anna's hollow cheeks, to her trembling hands, to the children's obvious hunger. "Ma'am," Jessica said quietly, urgently, "let me get my manager. Please, just wait here." But Anna couldn't wait, couldn't stand there one more second while strangers witnessed her children's starvation. While Jake asked questions she couldn't answer without sobbing. While Emma tried so hard to be brave that it broke Anna's heart into pieces too small to ever put back together. She abandoned the cart, left the milk and bread and peanut butter on the conveyor belt, walked out with her head down and her children trailing behind her, their footsteps echoing in her ears like a drumbeat of failure. In the parking lot next to their 8-year-old Honda with the dent in the passenger door, Anna finally let herself cry. Not the quiet tears she'd been hiding for months. Real crying, the kind that comes from deep in your chest and sounds like an animal in pain. Emma wrapped her thin arms around Anna's waist. "It's okay, Mommy," she whispered. "I'm not that hungry." But Anna knew. She knew Emma had been splitting her school lunch with Jake all week. Her 7-year-old daughter was starving herself to feed her 4-year-old brother. Her babies were parenting each other because their father had decided leather seats and a mistress mattered more than their lives. Anna pulled out her phone with shaking hands. One missed call. Margaret Westwood, her lawyer. The woman who'd been calling for weeks, ever since Anna's father died and left her everything. The inheritance, the bank, the power to change her life. But Anna had been avoiding it, avoiding the decision, avoiding the truth that her marriage was already dead, that the man she'd loved had rotted from the inside out, that sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes protecting yourself means admitting you married a monster. Anna's finger hovered over Margaret's number. Behind her, she heard Jake sniffling, heard Emma whisper, "Don't cry, Jakey. Maybe tomorrow." Maybe tomorrow, as if tomorrow was guaranteed, as if her children should have to hope for food like it was a gift instead of a right. Anna pressed dial. Margaret answered on the first ring. "It's time," Anna whispered, her voice raw. "I'm ready. Do whatever you need to do. I want him destroyed." 8 years ago, Anna had stood in a church wearing white lace and baby's breath in her hair, watching Marcus Collins walk down the aisle toward her with tears in his eyes. Real tears. He'd been so handsome in his suit, so earnest when he said his vows, so gentle when he kissed her in front of everyone they loved. He'd promised to honor her, to cherish her, to protect her in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer. She'd believed every word. Back then, Marcus had been different. He'd brought her coffee in bed on Sunday mornings. He'd rubbed her feet when she was pregnant with Emma. He'd gotten up for midnight feedings and sang off-key lullabies that made their baby girl stop crying. He'd been a good man once. Anna was sure of it. But that was before his tech startup failed. Before the investors pulled out and left him with nothing but debt and wounded pride. Before he started blaming Anna for trapping him with kids when he should have been building his empire. Before he started working late. Before the texts from colleagues that he hid. Before Vanessa. The change had been so gradual that Anna hadn't seen it happening, like a photograph fading in sunlight. One day she looked at her husband. 8 years ago, Anna had stood in a church wearing white lace and baby's breath in her hair, watching Marcus Collins walk down the aisle toward her with tears in his eyes. Real tears. He'd been so handsome in his suit, so earnest when he said his vows, so gentle when he kissed her in front of everyone they loved. He'd promised to honor her, to cherish her, to protect her in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer. She'd believed every word. Back then, Marcus had been different. He'd brought her coffee in bed on Sunday mornings. He'd rubbed her feet when she was pregnant with Emma. He'd gotten up for midnight feedings and sang off-key lullabies that made their baby girl stop crying. He'd been a good man once. Anna was sure of it. But that was before his tech startup failed. Before the investors pulled out and left him with nothing but debt and wounded pride. Before he started blaming Anna for trapping him with kids when he should have been building his empire. Before he started working late. Before the texts from colleagues that he hid. Before Vanessa. The change had been so gradual that Anna hadn't seen it happening, like a photograph fading in sunlight. One day she looked at her husband and realized she didn't recognize him anymore. The man who'd cried at their wedding had been replaced by someone cold, someone who looked at his children like they were burdens instead of blessings, someone who could cancel his pregnant wife's credit cards and sleep soundly at night. Marcus checked his reflection in the Maserati side mirror and smiled. The blue Nettuno paint gleamed under the afternoon sun like liquid metal. Every curve of the $185,000 machine screamed exactly what he needed the world to know. That he'd made it. That he was still somebody. That his failure 5 years ago didn't define him. This car was proof. Vanessa emerged from her downtown condo building, wearing a dress that cost more than Anna's entire wardrobe. Her heels clicked against the pavement like a metronome of success. She was everything Anna wasn't: young, ambitious, exciting, unencumbered by stretch marks and mom brain, and the exhausting reality of keeping tiny humans alive. "Baby," Vanessa squealed, running her manicured nails along the hood. "You actually did it! I can't believe you bought this!" Marcus pulled her close, breathing in her perfume, something French and expensive that made him forget, for a moment, the mild discomfort he'd felt when he'd logged into the bank system 4 days ago and systematically canceled every one of Anna's cards. It was temporary, he'd told himself. Just until his loan approval came through. Just until he could figure out his cash flow. Anna would never even know. She barely checked the accounts anyway. She was too busy with the kids and her constant exhaustion and her pregnancy complaints. "Told you I'd make it happen," Marcus said, kissing Vanessa's neck. "Nothing's too good for my girl." She giggled and pressed against him in a way that made him feel like the man he used to be. The successful one, the important one, not the failed entrepreneur working as a mid-level loan officer at a bank he'd once thought was just waiting for the right time. "You know how it is. Gotta protect my assets. Make sure she doesn't take everything in the split." Vanessa nodded, satisfied. She didn't ask about Emma and Jake. She never asked about the children. In the 18 months they'd been together, Marcus had mentioned them maybe 3 times. In Vanessa's world, they simply didn't exist. It was easier that way. Marcus's phone buzzed in the cup holder. A text from Anna. "Please, the kids are hungry. Can you please send money for groceries?" He stared at it for 3 seconds, then deleted it without responding. She was always so dramatic, always exaggerating. There was food in the house, pasta, rice, canned soup, whatever. She just needed to be more creative, more resourceful. That was Anna's problem. She expected everything handed to her, expected him to provide while she sat at home doing nothing all day, but watching kids and being pregnant. As if that was hard, as if he didn't have real stress, real pressure. "Who was that?" Vanessa asked, her voice sharp. "Work stuff," Marcus said. "Nothing important." They drove to Costa, an expensive waterfront restaurant where Marcus paid with the credit card linked to his secret account, the one he'd been funneling his paychecks into for 6 months, the account Anna didn't know about. Account 4729B. Every dollar of his salary had been going there since January. Meanwhile, Anna had been living off the scraps in their joint account, the account he'd been slowly draining to nothing. Over oysters and champagne that cost $340, Vanessa talked about her dreams, her design business ideas, her vision for their future together, a future that required capital, investment, a man who could provide the lifestyle she deserved. Marcus listened and nodded, mentally calculating. The loan tomorrow would be $250,000, enough to clear his immediate debts, enough to invest in Vanessa's business and keep her happy, enough to maintain this life he'd built on credit cards and lies and money stolen from his children's mouths. "I can't wait to meet your family," Vanessa said suddenly, spearing an oyster. "Your parents, your friends. I want to be part of your real life, not just this secret thing we're doing." Marcus's smile tightened. He took a long drink of champagne. What he didn't tell her was that his parents had stopped speaking to him 6 months ago. That his mother had called him crying after she'd seen Anna at the grocery store, visibly thin, visibly struggling. That his father had left a voicemail saying, "I don't know who you've become, but you're not my son anymore." What he didn't tell her was that his college friends had stopped inviting him to things after they'd witnessed him berating Anna at a barbecue for embarrassing him by talking about their kids too much. What he didn't tell her was that his real life was already a smoking crater, that everything solid had turned to ash, that he was clinging to this illusion with bleeding fingernails. "Soon, baby," Marcus said, refilling her glass. "Very soon. Just need to close this deal first." That night, Marcus slept in the guest room. He'd been sleeping there for 4 months, telling Anna he didn't want to disturb her rest with his work stress. Really, he just couldn't stand looking at her anymore. Couldn't stand her disappointed eyes. Couldn't stand the physical evidence of what he'd become. At 2 a.m., he heard something through the wall. Crying, not Anna. Jake, his 4-year-old son, crying in his sleep. Marcus put a pillow over his head and went back to sleep. In the morning, he showered, dressed in his best suit, and prepared for his 9 a.m. meeting at Sterling Trust Bank. The meeting that would change everything. The meeting where the executive team would approve his loan and validate his choices and prove that he was still somebody who mattered. He checked his reflection one last time, straightened his tie, practiced his confident smile. Marcus Collins had no idea that in 45 minutes, he would walk into a corner office and see his starving wife sitting in the CEO's chair. Had no idea that every transaction he'd made for 6 months had been documented. Had no idea that the woman he'd been systematically destroying had been quietly, patiently gathering evidence. Had no idea that some foundations, once broken, can never be repaired. The elevator doors opened to the executive floor of Sterling Trust Bank. Marcus had worked in this building for 3 years and had never been above the 4th floor. Up here, everything was different. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Marble floors that reflected the morning light. The kind of quiet that only money makes. A young assistant in an impeccable suit greeted him with a professional smile. "Mr. Collins, right this way, please." They walked past conference rooms with leather chairs and mahogany tables, past offices with nameplates Marcus didn't recognize, until they reached the corner office. The largest one, the CEO's office. "There must be some mistake," Marcus said, confusion flickering across his face. "My meeting was supposed to be with—" "Please, Mr. Collins." The assistant opened the double doors. "They're expecting you." Marcus stepped inside and his entire world tilted sideways. Behind the massive desk, backlit by morning sun streaming through windows that overlooked the financial district, sat Anna, his wife, his quiet, mousy, unemployed wife. But she didn't look quiet anymore. She wore a tailored charcoal suit that fit her pregnant body perfectly. Her hair was professionally styled. Her face was calm, controlled, cold. Nothing like the broken woman he'd left crying in their kitchen 4 days ago. Flanking her on both sides were 4 people Marcus recognized from company newsletters. The board members. The real power at Sterling Trust Bank. His legs went weak. "Please, Marcus," Anna said. Her voice was different, steady, executive. "Sit down." "Anna, what the hell is going on? Why are you—" "My name," she interrupted, and her tone could have frozen water. "In this building is Anna Sterling, not Collins. Sterling, as in Sterling Trust Bank, as in my father, Richard Sterling, who founded this institution 42 years ago." The blood drained from Marcus's face. He gripped the back of the leather chair in front of him to keep from falling. "You're here," Anna continued, picking up a file from her desk, "regarding your request for a $250,000 credit line. Let's review your qualifications, shall we?" "Anna, I don't understand. You never said—" "6 months ago, my estranged father passed away and left me controlling shares of this bank. 67%. I've been serving as CEO since then, working remotely under my maiden name." She opened the file. Marcus recognized it immediately. His loan application. Every lie he'd written, every inflated number. "I believe you've processed several loans I've signed off on without realizing it was me." Marcus's hands gripped the chair so hard his knuckles turned white. "You've known?" This whole time, you've known. I've known many things. Anna slid a stack of papers across the desk. Transaction records, bank statements, his secret account, account 4729B, every deposit, every transfer, every dollar he'd hidden. For instance, I know that 4 days ago, you canceled all joint credit cards, leaving your pregnant wife with $43 in cash. I know that 3 days ago, you financed an $185,000 Maserati through this bank using a loan you're now defaulting on because your secret account lacks sufficient funds. She slid another document across the desk. I know you've been funneling your entire paycheck into this account for 6 months while our joint account ran dry. I know about every dinner with Vanessa Chen, every hotel room, every bottle of champagne. I know that yesterday, while your children cried from hunger, you spent $340 on oysters downtown. Anna, please, you have to let me explain. My father made me promise something before he died, Anna said, as if Marcus hadn't spoken. He asked me to keep the inheritance secret for 1 year, to see who truly loved me for me, to test the people in my life. Her eyes met his and they were empty of everything that had once lived there. Love, hope, the belief that people could change. I've seen enough. She pressed a button on her phone. Security, please. Anna, wait! The cards, it was temporary. I was going to fix it. The kids are fine. You're overreacting. You're being dramatic like you always are. The kids, Anna said softly, and for the first time, emotion cracked through her executive mask, are not fine. Jake is 4 years old and has been asking me every single morning if there will be food today. Emma has been splitting her school lunch to feed her brother. I am 5 months pregnant and malnourished. Your baby is at risk, Marcus. Our baby. The Whole Foods manager filed a report with CPS yesterday after witnessing what you've done to us. 2 security guards appeared at the door like silent sentinels. One of the board members, an older woman with silver hair and eyes like steel, spoke for the first time. Mr. Collins, effective immediately, you are suspended from your position pending an ethics investigation. Your loan application is denied. Your vehicle is being repossessed as we speak, and you are no longer permitted on these premises. Marcus stood on shaking legs. His mind was racing, grasping for something, anything to say that would fix this. Anna, please, I love you. I made mistakes, but I love you. Think about our family. Think about the kids. They need their father. You starved your children, Anna said, and her voice was quiet, but it cut like a blade. To buy leather seats for a woman who doesn't even know their names. There's no coming back from that. Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? That's no longer my concern. Anna stood, both hands on her desk, her pregnant belly visible beneath her suit. But I suggest you don't contact me, the children, or come near our home. The restraining order will be served within the hour. My lawyer has filed divorce papers, full custody, and you'll be hearing from the district attorney regarding charges of financial abuse and child endangerment. You can't do this. You can't just destroy my life. I'm not destroying your life, Marcus. Anna's voice never rose, never broke. I'm protecting my children from a man who proved he values chrome and leather more than their lives. You destroyed your own life the moment you chose to let them starve. Security will escort you out now. Marcus opened his mouth to argue, to beg, to rage, but the security guards were already moving toward him. Their hands were gentle but firm on his arms. They led him out of the corner office, down the marble hallway, past the conference rooms and the nameplates and the quiet that money makes. His protests echoed off the walls, growing fainter with each step. In the CEO's office, Anna stood at the window and watched as Marcus was escorted to the street below. Watched as he saw his Maserati being loaded onto a tow truck. Watched as he pulled out his phone and stared at it, probably seeing Vanessa's breakup text, probably realizing that in 30 minutes he'd lost everything. One of the board members approached quietly. That was incredibly difficult. Are you all right, Mrs. Sterling? Anna placed one hand on her belly, felt the baby move. Strong, healthy. She'd started eating again last night. Real food. A full meal that Margaret had ordered to her hotel room where she and the kids had stayed, safe and warm and fed. I'm going to pick up my children from school, Anna said quietly. We're going to have lunch. Real lunch. Pizza, whatever they want. And tonight, I'm going to tuck them into bed knowing they're safe, knowing they'll never be hungry again, knowing that the man who hurt them can never touch them again. She turned from the window. So yes, I'm all right. For the first time in a very long time, I'm all right. 3 weeks later, Anna sat in the breakfast nook of their new house, a modest colonial in a safe neighborhood, with good schools, watching Emma and Jake eat pancakes with real maple syrup and bacon and fresh strawberries. Jake's cheeks were full again. Emma had stopped hoarding food in her room. They were healing, slowly, but healing. Mommy, Emma asked, syrup on her chin, is Daddy coming to visit today? Anna set down her coffee carefully. No, sweetheart. Remember? Daddy made very bad choices, and now he lives somewhere else. But you're safe, and I'm safe, and the baby's safe. That's what matters. Jake climbed into her lap, sticky and warm and alive. Will we always have food now? Always, baby, Anna whispered into his hair. I promise. Always. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Anna, please. I'm sorry. I made terrible mistakes. Can we talk? I want to see the kids. Anna deleted it. Some bridges once burned should stay burned. Some men mistake quietness for weakness. Marcus Collins had learned that lesson, and it cost him everything. But Anna hadn't set out to destroy him. She'd simply chosen to protect her children, to value herself, to understand that love without respect is just another word for suffering. Outside, the morning sun broke through clouds. Emma and Jake's laughter echoed from the table. The baby kicked, strong and healthy. Anna poured herself another cup of coffee and allowed herself a small smile. This was what winning actually looked like. Not revenge, not destruction, just safety, just peace, just the quiet certainty that her children would never again have to ask if there would be food today. Sometimes the most powerful thing a woman can do isn't destroy the man who hurt her. It's simply walk away, take her children, and build a life so complete that he becomes irrelevant. A footnote, a lesson learned. Anna Sterling had learned that lesson, and she would spend the rest of her life teaching it to her children. Your worth isn't determined by how someone treats you. It's determined by how you treat yourself when they fail. If this story touched your heart, if you felt Anna's pain and her power, if you believe that protecting children matters more than preserving broken relationships, please subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another story that reminds you of your own strength. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? What would you have done in Anna's position? Your story matters. Your voice matters. And sometimes sharing our truth is how we help someone else find theirs.